Gerald Ernest Gaudet,
How old are you today?
95.
I just want to talk to you about your whole life, basically, and
All 95 years.
yeah,
In detail.
and even back to your grandparents and your parents, if we can too. So where were you born?
Greenville, Maine.
Okay, and what year was that?
1926,
Okay, what day?
April 3rd.
Tell me about just tell me about that town where you were born. Like, how long did you live there?
Well, my grandpa had moved there to work for the lumber company up in the woods. And so finally they rented the place. I mean, there was nothing there to speak of. And I don't know how much you guys remember, but they lived over near that pine grove where there was some swings and a round table thing and some picnic benches and a lot of big pine trees. And that was probably 50 yards from there. And then there was a tenement house there, two identical units built side by side. And there were some people in the other side, in the north side, called Hennessy's. And there was 5 girls, I think, and 1 boy. And they all turned out to be teachers, pretty much. And they all played music. They played some kind of stuff. There was often a lot of music around. And then my dad came along from Prince Edward Island, and he went out to Miles City, Montana. And he worked out there, and that was 1918 maybe. And then that's when there was a big draft, and he got drafted. He rode all the way back on the junker trains to get back to register. And then when they got married right at that tenement. I don't know if you've ever seen that picture with Grandpa and Grandma and Dad and Mother together after the wedding. They just took a picture in the front. That was it. It was a postcard. And there was already 5 kids in Grandma and Grandpa's house, and here come a bunch more. So Dad went over there where the steamboats are, near there, and he built a 4-room house. No lights, just 4 rooms, a place to sleep. And Grandma used to, we had one of these big snow sleds. Nobody had a car. It was all horses. Everywhere you looked, everybody had a horse. That's why there's a barn attached to every house up there. And even the doctor. I mean, you call the doctor, here comes him, Doc, on a horse. And he could be in a saddle, or he had a, not a snowmobile, but he did have that. And then he would head up in the woods when someone would be hurt, or he would make all the calls in town. And there wasn't you have to realize that a small town like that, there probably isn't a lot of calls. I mean, there are people dying all the time, and but it's always somebody that's hurting. And here come Doc Pritham with his whole bag of pills, and he had pills for everything.
Okay. So
I mean, the member I remember the most is no matter when you went over there, yeah, I'll give you the little blue pill, that'll take care of it.
okay.
And
Tell me your grandparents, but tell me the names of your grandparents.
Leon Bourbeau and Gracia Bourbeau, yeah.
Okay.
And they were both from Canada.
Born in Canada?
Born in Canada.
Okay.
Yeah, and then they went to work for this Will Shaw that built that big house up there where Grandpa used to work, mowing the grass and whatever. And as far as I know, he never made more than $15 a week. Never. And even after he sold it, that lady still paid him $15. And if there was something where they didn't need it, they kept fire in that house, coal fire, and kept it heated all those years.
So
that
house is in Maine or
the house in Maine, right?
in Greenfield?
Yeah.
Greenville.
Greenville, Maine.
In Greenville, the one up on the hill. There was never anybody in it when you guys went up there, you know. And
so that's
then Grandma used to walk from where the house was. Dad built the house and at the junction it called. It was over other end of town where he had his house. And then he used, almost every day, she wheeled me over in that big sled, have lunch, then go back and do whatever we had to do. And there were no electric lights. There were lamps. You know, you come in, you had to turn these lamps up, light them off, and let them go. And finally, one day, Grandpa bought a Victrola. It's where you had to crank them up, and then you play the records on them, you know. And then they got tired of that after a while because they started putting electricity in. And they would just start from the center of town, and the next house, and the next house, and all they come in, then they put in one outlet in the middle of the ceiling with a cord on it, maybe 3 feet long or 4 feet, with a switch on it and a light bulb. And that's what we had for lights for years. I mean, with dull lights too. And
what year was that they put those in?
I think that was probably, I don't know exactly.
Now, was that at the?
Maybe I'll think about it.
Maybe, was that at the big house or the other house, the side-by-side house?
Side-by-side house.
Okay, all right.
The other houses, the little better houses in town, all had gas lights. They had wired gas lights, fancy gas fixtures, and you had to light it off, and you know, those were pretty good. And like I say, I remember a lot of things from being 2 years old.
From 2 years old?
Yeah.
You have a memory?
That's when my mother born Marilyn, and she was just about dead all the time. And my grandmother raised her on oatmeal.
Oh.
And I can remember almost everything that day. And she had a bed in the living room. and I used to lean on the bed there and talk to her.
So,
Yeah. And then all at once, she started coughing. Somebody went for the doctor. When he come there, he opened all the windows in the house. I mean, that was the oxygen was the key for pneumonia. And opened all the windows in the house, and she passed away. And Marilyn, she she lived through the whole thing. How the frig anybody knows, you know. But she lived on oatmeal. And then Grandma raised the two of us in that house, that tenement house. And when I was about 8, I would say, let me see, that's 8. Grandpa was going home to dinner one day, and he met the banker who always walked up the hill, had dinner, walked back down the hill, and so forth. And he said, Leon, I got a good deal for you. He said, there's no good deals. He says, look, you bring me $1,200 and that big Shaw house there is yours, lock, stock, and barrel. And that's what he did, and that's how we got in that house where we were most of the time when you guys were around. So, and then he put in water pumps, and he put in a stoker in the thing, but that was after we had cut a lot of wood to burn. It was all heated from wood, from the stove and the furnace. 17 yards a year.
Where'd you go to cut the wood?
Huh?
Where did you go to cut the wood?
People that owned a thing that was doing nothing, they would sell stumpage. So you'd go there and it'd be $2 a yard, and that would be 4 by 4 by 8. And he would cut 17 yards a year and split it all, store it all in the thing with our help. But I wasn't very old. And then once we moved over to that other house after he had bought that, we had Joe moved out. He moved to Detroit. Eddie went to a school in Mechanic, Canada. And Bill worked, he was just getting out of high school. Matter of fact, Bill never graduated from high school. I mean, he was a troublemaker. And then that's about the time the CCCs came along. And then they built three CCC camps around Greenville, up in Lilla Bay.
Okay.
And then they had another one in Cocadjo. They had another one in Wilson Pond. And they built all of these no-use stuff, but they built, the roads are still there that they built with the big rock edges on them and everything. And they had all Army issue clothes, and they had trucks and stuff like that. And then there were lots of fights. And then one of Bill's friends turned out to be married the Hennessy girl and moved to Portland. And she was a teacher, and she had a job. She used to teach down at Call Ottawa, and it was on the railroad track. That all that area was there for was the railroad track. That's all that was for. And every Sunday night, we would drive her down to call Well, it was near Bonson. I can't remember the name. And she would walk all the way to Ottawa on the railroad track to her teaching job.
Oh my God.
And I don't think they ever built there must be a road there now, but I don't know about it. But it was all pretty damn simple life, I'll tell you that. And then I ought to tell you about the snow roller. I mean, they had to do the roads, and sometimes what they used in Greenville to do the major part of the town is they had a 16-foot roller. It was 16 foot in diameter, and it was about 24 feet long. And I know it was filled, I don't know with what, but they had 16 horses pulling it. Then this thing would roll all the snow after a snowstorm. So by spring come, the damn road was 6, 8 feet high, and just big cake ice. And so then they had to deal with that for a couple of 3 months just to get a place to walk, to go home or whatever. And it was all hard work, and it was by the hour. I mean, if somebody come for you for a job, oh, I got a couple hours of work for you, and then you'd work 2 hours, they get paid off. And I don't know, that one, that one old clock that's in my apartment over there, that was one Grandpa won, and it's some kind of a wood contest.
Oh.
Yeah, and it still runs.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
So,
and
so if I can backtrack a little bit, so your grandparents, they're both born in Canada. Is it the same city? They're born in different places, or
yeah, different places.
do you know which places they were each born?
Well, I think Grandpa was born in Three Rivers, Canada, and I think Grandma was born in can't think of it right now, but she was a school teacher.
Okay.
No, that was in Quebec, right? Yeah.
She wasn't in Quebec, but she was on that road where you come into Canada from Maine, and then you go into Quebec, and going on that road who was there, she lived in one of those towns. And that whole area, of course, I think most of you have driven that area.
Yeah.
It's all side hill like this. All the farms were up the hill like this for big, big, long farms. But, and it was on the river, and I can't think of the river.
So,
But the towns, it was just wide enough to go through with a wagon. Crazy.
yeah. So,
Yeah.
do you know how they met at all?
How about me what?
how your grandparents? Do you know how they met?
No idea. Never heard.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you don't know when they got married or?
Well, I know that he was working in Maine at the time.
Okay.
And she came down. That was it.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what's that?
Things developed. They were both Catholic, and Grandpa was very strong, and so there was no Catholic schools. So he sent Joe to mechanic, I think it was, and he sent Ed to mechanic.
So who's
Just
Joe
to
and Ed?
go to school. and they were high on sports,
Okay.
and they were both very good sports players.
Who Joe and Ed? Who are these people? Are they
What's that?
Joe and Ed?
Joe and Ed.
They're are they his kids or are they your?
They would be your uncles.
They're my uncle.
They're your uncles.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
We all lived in the same house.
So these
Four
were your
bedroom
mother's
house.
brothers.
It was square, 4 bedrooms, 4 rooms up, 4 rooms down.
So
Yeah.
so who your grandparents who their kid can you tell me who their kids were?
What's that?
Do you know all the kids of your grandparents? Do you know?
Do I know other kids?
Yeah, the kids of your grandparents.
So besides your mother,
No.
your mother's brothers and sisters.
I know all
who
my
are they?
mother's and grandfather's kids, yeah.
Can you tell me?
Yeah.
Who are they?
Yeah.
Well, Bill, Ed, Joe, Margaret, and my mother.
Right. And your mother's name is what?
My mother's name was Beatrice.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So Beatrice is your mom.
Yeah.
Okay. And that was but Borbo?
Bourbeau.
Borbo.
Bourbeau is how it was really spelled.
Okay.
Yeah. But right now, I don't think there's anybody spelling it that way. They spell it Bourbon.
Okay. So they got married in Maine. You think?
Eddie did
What's that?
Where did your grandparents get married?
in Greenville.
In Greenville.
Ingrid. Okay. So
Yeah. Where that tenement was, 1 block south was the church that was built there. And I mean, when I was around, it was closed and they were already building a new church over where by high school. Yeah. And there was a young priest there, Father Sloan, and he used to be at our house all the time. There wasn't a lot to do around there.
Especially in the winter, huh?
I mean, everybody's main thing was to find a job and make a couple bucks. Yeah.
So your grandfather what was his career or his profession?
Well, you'd have to say he was a gardener, but I mean, it was an all-round thing. He used to ride the mail up the line to the Woodsman on horseback from Greenville up to a place called Grant Farm, and I don't know, that was about,
That was a long way.
yeah, it was. And he'd ride it up one
That's like
way
30
and
miles?
come back the next day. Oh, it's more than 30.
Wow.
Yeah. And all of the lumber companies really were supported the area and provided the jobs. And all the lumber was shipped via water downriver to where the mills were, where they made paper and.
No, if I understand it, Grandpa worked for the Shaws.
Yep.
Basically, he was mostly taking care of their residents, right? And Shaw owned the lumber company,
Yep.
right? Okay.
And then he built the Shaw Block downtown where
Oh, yeah.
you guys were milling. And then his brother built the library. And then there was another guy, Crafts. How he is up there, I'll never know. But in years passing, I found out that he was a diamond merchant out of Massachusetts. So he had money. he built the Masons building there,
Oh, yeah.
and he had a lot to do with the schools and stuff like that. And they were always building something and giving it to the town. Yep.
Well,
You don't find that a lot today.
no, no.
Did
Then he built the high school, which was the big thing that he did.
what about
Yeah.
what about your
Huh?
what about your grandmother? Did she was she kind of? I know a lot of people were sort of housewives at that point. I guess.
Yeah.
Did she do anything for a job at all, or?
No, just
Took care of
just
6 kids.
build a home,
6 or 5.
send the kids to school, and send them to work.
Yeah.
Okay.
3 boys and 2 girls.
So did they kind of essentially they lived in Canada growing up, and then they came to Maine.
Yeah.
Did they live anywhere else?
No,
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 So just-
not that I know.
not that you know of.
I know that she was a teacher,
Okay.
and
Oh,
but my grandpa, I know he was a woodsman.
great. Who was the teacher?
Huh?
Who was the teacher? You said somebody was a teacher.
My grandma.
Okay.
Gracia.
So she did have a job at some point of teaching.
Yeah, yeah.
Teacher.
I mean, it's kind of hard to imagine in that time, educated people, but there was some that, and they are the ones who kind of led the plant or whatever and build these businesses, and then they'd merge and build, but it all became mostly lumber business.
What was the big lumber company that was there?
Great Northern Paper Company was the bigger one, but there was 3 or 4 others. Louis Oakes owned Hallworth and Whitney, which is another big one.
A paper company or a lumber company?
Huh?
Paper or lumber?
Both.
Oh, okay.
So
He was the guy that started building those watchtowers on the mountains to watch for fires during the summer. He built most of those, and I don't know how they work, but they built these steel towers, 100 feet I think they were, and up on the top they had a platform, I don't know, maybe 25 feet square, and right in the middle they had a big compass. And this compass had a couple of wheels on her, and you would sight a smoke fire, maybe 50, 100 miles away, and then you would advertise that on whatever they had, and then some other guy would sight on that, and then they could drop right in on it, from located. And so he was famous for that, and he owned everything in town anyway. But he was a nice man. Yeah,
Who was?
Louis Oakes.
Louis Oakes, okay.
And where did he live? Is he the one that built the house where Hilton's lived first?
What's that?
Did did Oakes build the house that Hilton's eventually bought?
Well, he built the house and gave it to him.
He gave it to him?
Oh, certainly. I mean, Louis Oakes had mucho money. He had a gold mine up in, his brother had a gold mine up in
Ontario, wasn't
Lakeland, Ontario. And when I seen it. It was 6,000 feet deep. We went down in there and
The mine was 6,000?
Yeah.
Wow.
yeah, we went down in a big elevator to the cave like that. And then the thing could go, I don't know how fast, but it was fast.
Dad, when you were raised, it was your grandpa and grandma, because your dad had to go out in the woods, right?
What?
You were raised by your grandpa and grandma, because your dad had to go work in the woods, right?
Yeah,
He was at the camps?
yeah.
Okay, so
And then Louis lived right across the street from me. I think I was 8. I'm not positive about this. I've got it somewhere, but I think Louis was 4 or 5, and I was about 8. And we became friends because they were pretty protective of him because of all their stuff. And he was always coming down the corner of their lot and wait until I'd come out, and then he'd get me to come over.
And that was Louis Hilton.
Louis
Right.
Hilton, yeah. Him and I were really good friends for a long time.
It was his wife that had the money though, right? The
Yeah.
person Louis
Yeah.
Hilton married? Okay.
Yeah.
What was her name?
Hilton, she married Max Hilton, who had a big piece of the Great Northern Paper Company.
Okay.
Yeah.
so,
But she was the money holder.
Okay.
Yeah.
all right, so you're and that's what I've heard too, is that your actual parents were you were mostly raised by your grandparents.
Oh yeah.
So you're
All the way.
okay. So tell me about your parents. What you know about them, and where were they born?
Who's that?
Your mom and dad. Where were
Well,
they?
my dad was born in Prince Edward Island, and my mother was born in Greenville.
Okay, Prince Edward Island. That's is that Canada or?
That's Canada.
Okay. So tell me what you know about their upbringing, their childhoods. Do you know anything about that?
Up in the where?
When they were growing up, so
Yeah.
so they spent their whole childhoods growing up in. Was your dad Prince Edward Island? Was he there his whole childhood, or
Yeah.
yeah?
Yeah.
Okay, and then and your mom, did she spend her whole life?
I never knew my dad's folks at all,
Okay,
but I did know one of his brothers. Well, in later years, I got to know a couple of the other brothers. He had 8 brothers and sisters.
okay. So you didn't know, you don't know who your dad's dad. You don't know who that was.
Yeah, I do.
Who was that?
His name was Philip Gaudet.
Okay.
And actually, there is, they lived in Miscush, that's the name of it.
Where's
It's
that?
a farm town, and right
Prince
direct,
Edward
all the town was really square, roads this way, roads this way, roads this way, and every road went somewhere.
Yeah.
And
That's on Prince Edward's Island.
yeah, yeah.
Okay.
And then still there, looks the same, and their farm is still there, and you go into the cemetery and it's half Gaudet.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
So how'd your parents meet then?
Huh?
Do you know how your parents met? Your mom and dad?
No, I don't.
Okay.
I know that Dad came to Maine to work in the woods, And then I guess it wasn't too long after that that things began to happen.
Okay. And so you say your dad worked in the woods,
Yeah, but he was a carpenter.
a carpenter.
He had built several homes, and they were nothing mentioned or anything. And then he'd sell them and build the next thing.
Okay.
So
But and then did your mom have a job?
huh? No,
you-
she only lived 2 years after
Did
they were married.
Did she have a job before they got married?
I'm not aware of.
Okay.
Okay. And tell me, you were talking about it before, but why did she pass away?
Pneumonia.
Okay.
And that was not too long after Aunt Marilyn was born, right?
What's that?
That was not very long after Marilyn was born, right?
No, Marilyn was born January 5th,
Right.
and then she passed away January 7th or 8th.
Oh, it's just a few days. You got some water over there, Dad.
I've got a lot of that information on paper somewhere.
Somewhere.
But I was going to tell you too, if you really want a history of that church in Miscush, somebody done a thing on the Gaudets about who come from who and who. They all had big families, 10 kids. A lot of them were in the religious area. There was several of them that were nuns, and I don't remember any being a priest. But I remember one guy was a painter, and he worked for the government.
So tell me your siblings.
Mm-hmm.
Can you tell me all your siblings, all your brothers, sisters, or whoever?
Give me that again.
Just Maryland.
You just had one sister. You had Marilyn was your sister, right?
Yeah.
And no other siblings.
No.
Okay. All right.
No.
Okay. So, and then this is what I wanted to clarify. So, your parents, like you said, your mom died when you were 2 years old, or
2 years old.
okay. And your dad was out working a lot, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So you basically
Hourly work. That's
Okay.
what they did.
So you basically you were raised by your grandpa and grandma.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So then I think, well, let me ask you. So your grandparents, when did they die? Do you know?
Yeah, I know, but I can't tell you right now.
Okay.
You have
We
that
were talking
sheet
about
that
this
I
the
gave
other
you.
day.
Janine knows, I
The
think.
60s.
No, we were talking about that and had very, very vague memories of them. And so it had to be in the 60s.
Yeah.
I mean, I got pictures of the gravestone,
Yeah.
and it's got those dates on there.
But it's also on that sheet of,
Yeah.
Okay.
And I remember grandma real well too, great grandma, she spoke French. Her first language was French, and she spoke broken English.
Mm.
And she would like to talk, and she would start telling stories in English, and then she would get excited and break into French.
well, whenever we showed up, she was so excited
Yeah.
to see us.
Yeah.
All she could speak was French.
Yeah.
It would take a day or two for her to calm down.
Yeah, but then she'd be sitting at the kitchen table talking, and then eventually, when she'd get excited, here comes the French again.
Okay.
So Sam, I'd ask more about Louis Hilton and his friendship, because that really that had a lot of stories.
Okay.
Or Freddie Bigney.
Well, actually,
That's another
I'd like one, before you get to that,
Yeah.
how often did you see your dad?
Well, It depended on where the work was. When the wars started, and they started building army camps all over, then he would bounce around. And then, like Grandma, she used to talk to me in French, and I would answer in English.
But you used to know French then. You could speak French, right? At a certain point. Yeah.
I couldn't speak 2 words of it now.
Yeah. Okay.
But you always told me that Grandma would talk to you in French, and you would talk to her in English, but you understood each other.
Yeah.
So how about all of your uncles and your aunt? Were they also
They all
speaking
talked
in-
English,
They all talked English.
but they all could talk French,
Okay.
but that wasn't their language.
Okay. So, Louis Hilton is a friend of yours. Was a friend of yours.
Louis?
Yeah, Louis. Tell me about Louis.
Well, he just had lots of money,
He had lots of money.
and they were always looking for some companion to go on a trip, with them. And I was the guy that went almost, through my high school, I probably went every week somewhere with him.
So he was just one of your really good friends.
Yep.
Okay. And so you knew
And
him.
we were always good friends, although, there was no way that I could keep up with him in any way. He had just everything.
Oh,
So I kind of separated myself.
But you went to work for them.
Huh?
You went to work for them when you were still in school.
I did. Yeah, I worked for them all the time I was in high school. They had a job for me all the time. I got a paycheck every week.
What kind of work did you do? I know you talked about.
They had that golf course and that big estate, and that was what I did.
So we found that tractor.
Yeah,
You said that you used
still
to
there. Yeah,
drive that tractor.
That's right.
A lot.
yeah.
all right. So
Louis had built Lou Senior
There's some water right there.
had built this golf course for him, and that's where they put the house. But practically all the machinery on there had been built at the Great Northern Shop. They could build anything, boats. That's where the Katahdin came from, and some part, I don't know, but that friggin' tractor is still sitting there.
Yeah. The story that I remember that you told about working at Louis Hilton was there was one time when you were supervising both your dad and
Oh,
your
yeah?
grandfather.
They were all, you couldn't get anybody. Everybody was working war jobs because they paid good,
Yeah.
And we had nobody. So I remember Max one day said, "Hey, why don't you hire some of your relatives?" That's what I did.
And what did your grandpa do?
Well, he was pretty old, but he did a lot of the gardening, like we get it ready for winter, and then,
What I remember is you told me a story about how one day he just got up and left and said he made enough for the
That's
week.
right, yeah. He never had made more than $15 a month that I knew about. And I got him a job there one day, and I think he made $38, and he said, I'm just not worth it, And he worked steady all day. All he wanted to do is walk home to lunch and come back. I tell him, just, do your thing. Put in your timesheet and that's it.
I know that they wasn't even called the same things. Did you have an elementary school or?
Elementary school and high school.
Okay. Do you remember the names of those schools?
Of the schools,
Yeah.
Greenville High School.
Okay. You remember your elementary school at all?
Elementary school was, can't remember if there was a name for that or not, but when Louis Oakes built the school, it was one building and the cost was 560 some million or something for that school. And it was the best of everything that made, and there was a lot of stuff that's still there. Everything is still there. I mean, it was all tile, and it was all bookcases and stuff, desks, everything. And he had a machine shop in there. We taught that, and then some people finally got away from that, and they closed down the machine shop and gave everything away. Now I see they're opening it up again.
How big were your classes? How many people in your class?
The taxes?
No,
No,
how many,
class. How many people?
How
were in
many
your
fellow
class?
students were in your class?
26?
26? Pretty big.
So you're talking about, you say Louis Oates, you said?
Louis Olton.
Yeah. But
Louis Oakes and Louis Hill.
there's more than that in the class now,
So this,
but I don't know how many.
this Louis Oates, so there's Oates,
Like an oak tree.
Oak tree.
Oaks.
Yeah.
Okay, you said he built the elementary school that you went
Everything. It was a
Okay.
culmination, kindergarten through high school.
to? Okay.
We had a forestry class, a forestry area there where we grew trees and replanted and all that stuff. And yeah, we had some good stuff.
So essentially, like Greenville, a lot of this would you call it a village or a city? Was it a big place?
A big place.
Were there-
Greenville. How big was Greenville?
Greenville is 1,500.
1,500. Okay, and so a lot of of Greenville is built by Louis Oakes.
I'd say, yeah.
Okay.
And Louis Oakes was Louis Hilton's father-in-law,
No, the grandfather.
grandfather.
Okay. So tell me, when you're growing up, what's that like? I mean, I'm sure it's, like you were saying before, you remember them putting electricity
Yeah.
into your home. It must have been a completely different experience to grow up when you did.
Oh, it was.
than it
I
is now.
mean, it was always little chunks at a time, that they did. Yeah.
Okay.
Like
What
they
are
need a new sidewalk. He built a new sidewalk.
Yeah. Yeah. So what are some chores and things that you'd have to do growing up?
the chickens?
You had
Chores.
chickens and
What kind of jobs did you have, chores that you had around the house?
Well, we had. I mean, a golf course. There's many things.
But what about around the house? Did you have to do chores around the house? Like, did you have to bring in the wood? And I know you had those chickens.
Yeah.
So tell them about how you used to get the chickens. Didn't you say you used to order them and they came and they?
Oh yeah. We got them through Sears, and we get 104 in a box. They're this big. But most all of them always survive. Yeah,
They'd ship you 104 chickens in a box?
sure, they still do.
Yeah.
In the post, and you picked them up at the post office.
Huh?
You picked them up at the post office.
Yeah, you
right?
know the chicken time had come when you come home from school, you stop to get the mail and it's just all chickens.
And it would stink probably.
And a lot of people did that then, right?
Huh?
It wasn't just you that ordered chickens that way, right? A lot of people did it that way?
A lot of people grew chicken then.
Wow.
I mean, like I say, basically when I was in junior high school, just about everybody either had chickens, cows, hogs, or something, because they all were farms. Yeah,
What's your first job you had?
up the Hiltons on the golf course.
Okay.
That's the only place I ever worked.
How old were you when you got that first job?
16.
Okay. Tell me about that job. What did you have to do?
What it was on the golf course, weeds grow bigger leaves, right? And they make it very uneven. We used to have to dig all those weeds out.
You
Okay.
dug them out by hand?
Huh?
You dug them out by hand?
Yeah, with that pocket knife.
Wow.
So the Hiltons also let you use their car to learn how to drive and take a driver's
Yeah, and I used their car, drive.
And what
I
was it?
drive Louis to school all the time, pick him up.
Because you were older than him.
Huh?
Because you were older than him.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
But what was that car that you took your driver's?
Lincoln Zephyr. They had, well, they had 3 in all. Lincoln Zephyrs. They were so smooth you couldn't even hear them. The pistons were only about this big. It was really crazy to look at them. There was 12 cylinders. They were about that big.
Huh.
Yeah.
And then did you go to a college before you started your kind of proper?
Yes, I did. I went to college. Well, I went in the service. I got drafted.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, tell me about that. How old were you when you got drafted?
17.
17.
Yep.
And that was because of World War II?
Yep.
Okay. And you were in the Navy?
Yep.
Okay. So how did that go down? Tell me about that a little bit.
Well, I mean, once I joined the Navy, I didn't know nothing, and I ended up in the amphibious forces, which was the landing forces of the U.S. Navy. And as war kept getting bigger and bigger, that force got bigger and bigger. And then when there'd be an invasion or something, then you'd be, just thousands of things. And,
Were you inducted into the Navy in Portland? And then where did you go for training?
I went to New York, the state of New York, down in the Little Lakes area, which was Sampson, New York, as I went. And after that, I went to school in Gulf Shores, Mississippi. And then after that, I went to Detroit, Ford Motor Company in Detroit, Michigan. And those were big places. I don't know what I'd do today, but They were just big places. In that Ford plant, there was 100 miles of railroad in the plant that just jockeyed stuff, for wherever it had to jockey. And they also built jet motors there, which you never heard much about. But in the middle of the night, you'd hear these things go off, and you got to know what they were. And they were jet motors. And they made their own paint, they made their own everything.
What kind of engines did you learn to work on?
What?
What kind of engines did you learn to work on? Right?
Well, most of the ones I worked on were really General Motors engines. And we used to, because there was 2 of those babies in every landing craft.
They put General Motors engines in Ford plants?
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah.
Can you tell me, Grandpa, were you at Iwo Jima?
Yep.
Okay. What? So you were in the Navy, but did you? What was your experience there?
Yeah, well, woke up one morning, February the 19th, and there was 780 ships all merging on one area, all moving, doing that. Nobody stopped, anchored, anything. And then on the morning of that 19th, the firing started, and it continued for a month, and I mean, they just bombed the Japanese just about off of the island. They had dug in so much stuff there that everything was in underground, and we kept hauling ammunition.
So what was your job?
Huh?
What was your job? What kind of craft were you on?
I was on a 50 foot tank, landing ship tank. It hauled, it hauled quite a bit, but I mean, we never hauled a tank all the time we were there. All we hauled was ammunition.
You never landed on Iwo Jima, right?
What?
Bill? You never landed on Iwo Jima.
No.
You were always on the
No.
boats
Yeah,
that were around. Okay.
yeah.
I'm gonna.
We hauled from ammunition ships. We'd go out, load out at ammunition ships, probably 11, 12 miles, and then bring it into shore. Sometimes we just brought it in to reload ships again, like we carried a lot of 5-inch shells for destroyers. I mean, we would haul maybe 1,000 of those at a time, and then we would unload them to that ship in motion. That was interesting.
Oh.
And we hauled some 16-inch shells for, I think it was Wisconsin, or I can't remember which ship, but we hauled some 16, and there was some 14s, the next oldest one, and they weighed 2,000 pounds apiece, a projectile.
Wow.
And we used to get 2 of those in the boat at a time, and every once in a while, I mean, you know how a projectile is made. They had a loop that go over this nose here, and then they had a loop made of cable that went over the rear end. Well, when it's rough out there, and the boat's going up and down, they sometimes get tangled. Sometimes those loops would come off, and the shell would go up in the air, go right through the bottom of the boat.
Jeez.
Yeah. One of the guys that graduated with me, he was killed on Iwo Jima.
What branch was he in?
Huh?
What branch of military?
Marines.
Okay. A
Yeah.
guy you went to high school with?
Huh?
A guy you went to high school with?
Yeah, I wasn't close to him or nothing, but I mean, we all knew each other a lot, you know. He got killed up first friggin' day.
So you're in the Navy, is that until the end of the war that you served in the Navy, or did you serve beyond the end?
What's that now?
How long, when did you leave the Navy?
As soon as it was over.
Once the war ended?
Yeah.
Okay.
I left in June, of 46, I think.
So do you remember when the war ended? Do you have a memory of hearing that news that it was over?
Yeah,
Where were you?
Yeah, where were
I
you?
was on Guam.
So how did you get the news?
Hmm?
How did you get that news that the war was over?
Just over the radio. We had these radios that they were broadcasting all the time. And the war is over, you know. And then it took them a while to shut it down.
What's that, when everybody hears that news, what's the reaction from everybody around you and yourself?
Open the beer.
Yeah. Especially on that heat.
Okay.
Tell them about the meal kits that you used to get when you were in the Navy.
Meals?
Yeah, what were the meals
You
like?
know, I'd have to say that the food wasn't that bad. I mean, there was times, you know. We had iced coffee almost all the time. And we had a lot of lamb from Australia,
Oh,
sheep and lamb. And that sheep always was smelly. I mean, as a meal. And then most of this stuff, it was okay.
Didn't you get separated from your supply ship? You had to go around?
Sure we
with your
did.
DT your-
Yeah,
your
we did.
landing craft
We
and
had
bag
no
food?
supply ship at all. When we were the kind of thing that we were on, we had. I was on a U.S. dock, #1, and you would drive 17 of these 18 of these tank drawers into the back of that. They were bells down, the tailgate would drop, you could drive right in there. And then we'd anchor them in there, and then they bring the tailgate out, and then we'd operate as a regular ship. But what it was a machine, a huge machine shop. They could make anything in there. And so once they got to our destination, they would open the gate and out we'd go, and that was the end of our supplies, our food and everything else. And so but there was lots of food around because the Army was hauling food into the beach at all times, trying to keep it going. There was mostly K rations and stuff, and we had two guys on our boat that were from Detroit. And when we run out of food, didn't have nothing, they said, we're going to get food. So as these Army tanks like the Dells, as they were going into shore, these guys would run upside, tied to it, and just get us a load.
Of food.
Yeah.
Then you take it back and you'd heat it up on the diesels, right?
Yeah, that's how you eat it.
I have a memory of you telling a story about being on a ship in the Navy and you're sleeping and you're on a hammock
Oh.
and it's swaying over the water.
Yeah, that's me.
Okay.
Yeah, we got picked up, our boat sank. We got picked up and we got on this destroyer and we were all sore from seawater and everything. For maybe 2 weeks of no showers, just seawater and just getting wet. But anyway, we got on this destroyer. They were going to drop us off to someplace, so I don't remember where that was either. But the guy says, "Hey, I got a hammock strung out under the deck there." He said, "You can sleep in there tonight if you want." And I says, "Hey, that's great." So I went up and looked at that. It looked great. So I climbed in that baby, and we got in a storm at night. We get this kind of a list. So then, bang, we're hanging out over the water.
Wow.
Did you say your boat was sunk?
Yeah,
What boat was sunk?
the one boat I was on.
Oh.
We every once in a while, I mean, like I say, you could drop a shell right through the thing, and then there was a lot of stuff. When you unloaded shells to bigger ships like cruisers and battle wagons, they have these cleats on the side of them. What do they call them? Well, anyway, on the side, and when they have to go into mooring dock, they tie that. They have to hold the strip straight. Well, if you hit a couple of those while you're tied off unloading, then they'll rip the side right out of your thing. We had 3/16 stuff on there.
Don't cross your legs.
There's lots of boats.
Yeah.
Oh, there's lots of boats down there with 500 or 600 shells on them. Lots of boats.
So after you're back in the States from the Navy, so you then that's when you went to college. After you get out back in the States from the Navy, that's when you go to college, right?
When I came back on a ship with 7,000 guys.
Oh wow.
And we were going to get off at Treasure Island in Frisco, but somehow it got changed, and they decided to send us through the Panama Canal and up the east coast to Fargo,
North Dakota,
Massachusetts.
Massachusetts.
And they discharged us all there. They handed us all a check. We took off down the road.
Okay. So, and then when you got back, where'd you go from there?
I went home.
To Greenville.
Went right back to Greenville. Yeah.
Okay. So what'd you do after that when you're back in Greenville?
Went back to Hilton's.
The Hiltons.
I worked there the rest. The only other place I worked pretty much was Hilton's.
Okay.
And
So, and then
he wanted me to stay there,
Oh.
but he offered to put me through the University of Maine. And I don't know, I just had trouble with trying to work for somebody I was friends with and so forth. So I didn't do it. So I went to a refrigeration school in Waterville, Maine. No, in Lewiston, Maine.
a refrigeration school.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
But that wasn't your career.
And then from there, I went to MSOE.
Oh, and where's that? MSOE in here?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
Milwaukee School of Engineering.
What was your first job after college?
When you,
First job after college was Johnson Control.
As an apprentice,
Huh?
as an apprentice.
Yeah.
Okay. So you joined the union
Yeah.
and you went to work at Johnson Controls?
Yeah.
what kind of apprentice? What kind of apprentice?
Refrigeration.
Did they call it a refrigeration
But-
or was
but-
it a steam fitter?
But I soon was into temperature control stuff and,
Well,
you know.
had to be.
So what refrigeration? What does that mean? In
temperature control,
Yeah.
of a building?
building, or anything.
Okay. Okay. But it was my understanding that you also you were essentially building buildings themselves too, right? No?
Just
No,
putting in the heating controls.
Okay.
the controls for the heating system.
And then there's
That's-
Okay.
there's a lot of things that run in with anything. You know, it runs in with heating, it runs in with cooling. It just runs together one way or the other.
Okay. All right.
What
and
were
then-
some of the jobs that you worked on in the Milwaukee area? What are some of the big jobs that you did?
Well, probably first Wisconsin was the biggest one.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then the VA hospital was another big one.
You said Wisconsin?
First
Bank.
Wisconsin,
First Wisconsin
which
Bank.
is now the US Bank.
Okay.
When Dad worked on the First Wisconsin Bank,
Yeah.
I was putting up scaffolds on City Hall, so we could see each other.
I worked at the VA.
Did you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Doing what?
I had a tough job. They had some kind of a problem with, one of the steam fitter had to go, and every once in a while he had to turn something off. I don't remember what it was. And then I had to sit in a control room, just sat on a chair, and I had to wait for this light to come on. And when the light came on, I had to turn it off. It was a boring job.
Good fit for your skills.
It would be, sometimes it'd be 3 hours before the light, and you're just sitting right there.
I did that too,
Did ya?
because you had to work with the other guy, so then I had to sit.
That's
and wait
basically
for
your
the
job.
Yeah, then I got out, and I remember going, I had to go into surgery even for a while, because I had to put on all the gowns and go in, so I did other stuff, but that was pretty boring.
Yeah.
So when did you meet Vern?
What?
When did you meet your wife?
Your wife, yeah, Vern.
Bernadette.
Oh,
Bernadette.
we used to go to dances every Friday and Saturday night. On Friday night, we'd go to the one right on 7th Street, 6th or 7th Street. And on Saturday night, we'd go to George Devine's on 27th.
Was it the Eagles Club?
Yeah,
The other one, the Eagles Club?
yeah. That's where I met Vern,
Was it a dance or you said it was a dance?
with her friend Christine.
Did you dance with her? Is that
Sure.
Yeah. Okay. Did you just see her and decide I want to dance with this lady?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's all they did.
Okay. So what year was that? Do you know?
Hmm?
Do you know what year that was?
I think it was 48.
I don't know.
It
That-
was shortly
that
after
had
her
to
dad
be-
died.
Yeah, I don't know exactly.
Okay. But probably somewhere late 40s, early 50s maybe.
So they were married in 50.
They're married, oh, you married her in 50.
Yeah,
That
yeah.
was the late 40s.
Okay.
I want to say 48, but
Yeah. What? I'm sure you remember. what was your wedding day? Do you remember that date?
Sure. It
June
was on a Saturday.
Saturday. June 10th, 1950?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
We were married in 50, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What was the church?
Saint,
Wenceslas?
Yeah, was it Wenceslas?
huh?
Was it Wenceslas?
Yeah.
How many people, do you remember how many people attended?
All B-lots.
Only a few lots?
B-lots or by-lots?
B-lots.
Because there's both
Who are the?
Because there was a
bylaws?
huge,
cousins of.
huge bunch of them that went there.
Yeah, you probably didn't have anybody from your family that made it. did you?
Huh?
Probably no one from your family.
No,
made
there
it.
was no one here from my family.
Yeah.
Why was that? Why was nobody there?
Nobody had money.
Oh,
Didn't,
oh,
didn't you and Mom go to Maine on your honeymoon then?
Yeah.
And I remember you told me that when you and Mom went to Maine on your honeymoon, you went through Canada and you had an accident with a farmer.
Yeah.
What?
what?
So what happened with the accident with
Well,
the farmer?
We took a shortcut, and it was a dirt road, which was a lot of them in Canada, and Mom was driving, and this guy is going down the road, and he gives a signal that he's going to turn. How was that? We were here. He was here. I was here. Then and then he was going to turn right. So he comes way over here like that,
Oh.
turns right. And I tore the bumper off his car. And then we had the conversation thing. Neither one of them could talk, so I give him $25.
Because you said he just spoke French.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
Yeah.
I give him $25.
Dave would have been your first kid, right?
I would have been, I was.
Well, yes, was. Yeah. When was that? When did Dave happen?
70 years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, about 70 years ago.
Yeah.
Okay. So what's your birthday?
June 30th,
Of what year?
1951.
I remember we made our weekly salary was $38.
That topped your grandpa.
Huh?
That topped your grandpa.
It did, yeah. Yeah, and you had to scratch.
So
Then I got a break and I got this run jobs, and so I got a little more money.
So can I go, so it's Dave, and then it's you. What's your birthday?
October 30th, 1954.
Okay, and then it's, who's after that?
Your dad?
My dad. So what's your birthday?
July 11th, 1957.
Okay, and then it's you.
Right, August 16th, 1960.
Okay, and then you.
May 22nd, 1967.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. What's it like raising all these kids?
You should
Are
be
they-
in the room.
Are they good? Were they good kids? Or did they misbehave a lot or anything like that?
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
No.
He wasn't around a lot, he was working to help take care of us.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
You know, I think I got the jobs that I had because I worked a little harder. I think it goes back because old Schreiber, he used to say, put Gaudet over there, that'll take care of it. And then some of the other guys would say, well, how many Gaudets do you need? He was pretty good to me. He was an old German guy that did everything by the books. And even some of the things he did, he was wrong in. And I remember going in one day and telling him, Herb, this is not good. We keep doing this, and same old stuff. And he says, don't tell me what to do. I've been here about 30, 40 years. And I said, okay, we'll keep doing it your way, but remember, I told you. And out I went, and then after that, he kind of let me run a lot of stuff.
Was he the branch manager?
Hmm?
Was he the branch manager?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
He was one of the good. Oh, he was one of the good ones. He was tough though.
So it,
We used to have to go all the way up to Michigan to do jobs up there.
what's your where was your first house you owned?
First house we owned was the one on Barnard.
No.
112th and Layton.
Hmm?
112th and Layton.
112.
11205 West Layton Avenue.
And you built that house.
Huh?
You built that house.
Yeah.
Me.
Yeah.
How did you ever find the time? I mean, you had 2 young children.
I don't know.
Did you see the pictures of me helping him?
I,
No, I didn't.
Dave did the brickwork.
I know you were always doing something, but at that time of the thing, there were deals to be had. If you were persistent, there were deals to be had.
Well, you built those 3 houses on
Yeah.
112th Street.
Yeah.
Those were all 3 of you were mechanics at Johnson
Yeah.
Control. There was Bob Brown next
Yeah.
door, and then there was Dan Gears, or Jim Gears.
Yeah.
And so you guys all built at the same time and helped each other.
But that didn't work out right either.
Right.
You know, it-
So
not one of us had any money.
Uh-huh.
It was scratch the chickens.
how long was it? Were you guys in that house? When did you move?
1977.
Okay, and then so where does it go after that?
Barnard Avenue.
Barnard Avenue.
So then he built another house on
Okay.
Barnard Avenue.
Okay. So how long are you there for? Is that, I mean, do you guys all move out from there? Or?
So that was, he retired in '89. And then they sold the house.
We retired
Shortly
before
after that.
89.
What?
Retired before 89, because I remember I couldn't make it to the
Might have been
party.
'88.
Yeah, because
Yeah, 88.
It was '88.
little
yes.
Jerry came to the retirement party.
Okay.
We remember laughing, congratulations, Jerry Gaudet, and, you know, and Gerald was,
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So then, so you retire. So you said that was 89,
88.
88. Okay. When did you go up to Minocqua?
When did you
99,
move up to
80.
Minocqua?
You had,
88, 89.
Okay.
I think it was 91.
Well, you bought a place, you and Mom bought a place up there just to go on for the weekends and vacations, but when
right.
did you move up there permanent?
92.
92?
It was after
I
we
think.
were married.
I was alive, because I had one memory of being at their house in Milwaukee.
What year were you born?
Yeah.
you do.
Okay.
I have a memory of being at their. I think maybe it was an apartment though.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they got an apartment by Whitnell Park.
They had
Actually,
another one on 76
Yeah.
also,
oh,
by
Yeah.
Coles.
Right.
For 1 year.
I remember the apartment, the one apartment by Whitnell Park they lived at was where we played Little League too. They taught the Little League fields around.
All right. So yeah, that's kind of.
But
mostly
I
what
didn't build anything up in Minocqua.
Yeah.
I mean, I just bought something.
Yeah. I did want to ask you about, I mean, during your lifetime, like you said, World War II, but you also there was a lot of significant things that happened in your life. You know, you had JFK assassination, Martin Luther King assassination, the moon landing. You know, do you have memories of things like that?
Oh,
What do you remember about FDR?
Huh?
What do you remember about FDR?
FDR, huh?
What do you remember about him?
I don't remember anything. He kept me working.
How about Truman?
I like Truman. It was tough.
Yeah.
What about cutting up Dad's baseball stuff?
I don't think he can hear you, Joe.
What about, I remember recently they had an anniversary of the riots in Milwaukee.
Oh, gosh, I remember that.
What do you remember about those riots in Milwaukee? Didn't
Oh.
you say that a lot of the city was shut down?
Yeah, I know. A lot of cities, you had to check the highway before you took on it. You know, because they were shooting on the highway. If you had to go to cross town, you were in trouble. I never had any trouble.
You were still working through that,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
What are these riots about? Where are they rioting?
What I didn't like, I'd get jobs on the northeast side,
Yeah.
you know.
And you lived on the southwest?
Yeah.
Yeah. These were the,
67, 68,
1967 was the main.
yeah,
Where,
a lot of race riots.
race riots.
Yep.
yeah.
Okay.
They're all over the country.
Yeah. Okay.
I thought that was in '68 after Martin Luther King was assassinated.
No, it was before that too.
Started that?
Yeah,
Did,
photobomb.
so Grandpa, what were kind of, did you have thoughts when you see these riots, these race riots and things? Did you have a kind of an opinion, thoughts about those things as they were happening?
No, I was never close to any involvement on anything that happened. I mean, we'd have them and maybe they'd shut down the highway, you'd go another way, you know.
Tell us about your roommate in college.
Oh, I mean, that was one thing you were looking for as a roommate, because it cut everything in half.
So who was your roommate?
I had, I was just thinking of him. He's passed away. He was from Detroit,
Harry Pemberton?
Harry Pemberton. And then he run into Tony at the same dance that I run into Byrne.
Oh, really?
And then another guy came over. I don't remember his name, but he didn't stay very long. And then another guy came over. What was his name? I don't remember his name either.
Where did you live?
First and North,
And then how did you get to school?
Third
take-
Street bus.
Okay.
and then
Bang, bang.
and then you had a job, right? When you went to school, you
And
were
I
a
had
dishwasher.
a job, yeah,
Where were you a dishwasher?
at on Milwaukee Street. Milwaukee Street and
Do you remember the name of the restaurant?
yeah, I think I did. No, I can't remember it. I remember the guy. He was a nice guy. I worked there quite a while.
You got free
I
food
got
there.
2 meals a day and $5. But I only helped him with then pretty quick, I was doing the evening. I was the evening waiter.
Oh, you were?
I
Yeah.
didn't know that.
I didn't know that either.
And then there used to be a guy named, he had a business, Mail Me Monday. And he used to come in every night for supper at the last minute. You'd see him coming, you were ready to lock the door, and he was pulling on the handle. And so he come in, I said, hey, there's not much left. And he said, oh, it's all right, I'll take it. So he came in, and we had a cook there. She was part-time. His wife was a regular cook. She had a cook there, and I remember he had chicken that day, and I don't know, he offered that chicken, so I went in and I looked at the pan and I says, God, I can't sell him that. And so I went out and I told him, I said, hey, you know, your choice would be better for something else. No, he says, that's what I want. He said, give me the chicken. So I went in and I told the cook, I says, this guy wants that burger, but I am not going to sell it to him. And oh, she got all upset the next day when Smitty was at Smitty's restaurant.
Smitty's.
When Smitty came in, she told him all about it, that I wouldn't sell him nothing. And that, anyway, and I don't know, we had a little conversation. I think she got fired. And I was walking down Milwaukee Street. Oh, this was maybe a couple or 3 years after that. And I run into Smitty. And now he's selling insurance.
So I want to ask you, Grandpa, what do you think about when you watch news and things today? What do you think about the state of the world as it is right now?
Huh. Boy, I think it's just a bag of worms. That's what I think of it.
Yeah. Do you have advice for future generations at all?
Just get a job and do it. That's what my advice is. I mean, you eventually get somewhere. If you do a job and do a good job, you eventually get somewhere.
Sounds simple.
Okay. I'll keep the cameras going, but we have some pictures. We want to try and clarify at least who they are, who's in the pictures. Go around.
Why don't you push that stool over and put the finger on that?
Oh, yeah.
Here's, have you use this?
You know, why don't you just kneel next to it, put the finger on that?
All right.
I know those colors.
Yeah, there's Grandma and Grandpa right there.
So, are you talking about this one or
No.
the other one?
Yeah, that one there.
So, this is
Yeah,
Grandpa and
that's how he dressed all the time, except Sunday. Sunday he had on his good suit and hat, everything.
All day long?
Yep, he didn't work anything on Sunday.
So this is your grandpa.
Yeah.
This is your grandma.
Well, she had the cook,
Yeah.
you know.
So that's Leon and Gracia.
Yeah, that's him.
Okay.
And then this here is Phil Britton, one of his friends.
So
I remember him, he used to be the barber.
Okay, so this is Phil, who's, you know, this is?
I don't know who that is. It's his wife, but I
Okay.
don't know who it is.
Do you know who this is?
Don't know,
Do you know him?
no,
No, and you don't know her?
no.
Okay. So we got, I'm just gonna put this in, so Bill, Bratton, is it Bratton?
Breton.
Yeah.
It's a very,
Oh, like Cape Breton.
yeah, it's a very, I guess, common French name.
Yeah.
I think it was on several headstones in Greenville, if I remember right.
Oh. These are the three guys I was with in the service on Guam. And then these two guys were, this other guy was Darrell Ferris. And I was with him in, I think that was in California. This guy knew how to make wine.
Okay.
Boy, he made some quite often.
Was it good wine?
Yeah, it was. I didn't drink any, but
Is that Daryl? Daryl?
no.
And Ferris, like a Ferris wheel?
I looked for him once
Yeah.
and I couldn't find him.
Do you know if it's Ferris for his last name? Daryl Ferris?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, he worked for J.C. Penney,
Okay.
so he probably hasn't got a job right now.
Neither do you.
This was Raymond Coyne from up in Greenville. I met him, I seen this ship coming in at Guam, and I remembered his name of his ship, and so I went out there and we spent all day, ate ice cream all day.
You said Raymond?
Yeah, Raymond.
McCoy?
Raymond Coyne,
Mi-
A-C-O-I-N.
Oh, that's another common name up there, Acoin. Like if you go to Greenville, that's a common name on the headstones too, if I remember. Weren't there a lot of Acoins in Greenville, Dad?
There was, yeah.
Alright. Do you know this one at all?
Yeah, that's Grandpa and Grandma. That's on Sunday with Bill.
Okay.
Uncle Bill?
Yeah,
So, which one's Grandpa?
On the left.
around the left.
That's Grandpa, that's.
And Bill is his son.
Was
Okay.
Bill the oldest?
Huh?
Was Bill the oldest?
No, youngest.
Who was the oldest? Joe?
My mother.
Oh, that's right. And then who? Joe or Ed?
And then I think Joe.
So Bill is your uncle?
Yep.
Okay.
Uncle Bill.
Same one. What about this one? Do you know this one?
I should know it.
Bring it up, actually.
I should know it, but I don't. I think that's Grandpa,
Yeah.
and that's Grandma.
Okay. One of these is probably
One,
you.
two.
No,
Or
that's
not.
And then
Yes.
this one here is almost, I think it's Joe.
Mm-hmm. And so that'd be grandma in the, no, that doesn't make sense. 'Cause-
Yeah.
Yeah, grandma in the middle.
And this is I don't know the rest. Don't know the rest.
Okay.
I mean, I'm guessing that that's maybe Dad, your mom in the middle there. That's probably Beatrice in the middle.
Yeah.
This
And
one.
then,
This one
yeah,
would work.
yeah, because she's the oldest.
So
Yeah.
it's the bottom middle.
Yeah, and then that's probably,
Margie is the girl behind.
yeah. And then, who was youngest, Bill or Ed?
Bill.
Bill,
So he'd be on grandma's lap.
yeah. is Ed, Beatrice, Joe.
So Ed is the left,
Mm-hmm.
and then Beatrice is bottom
In
middle.
the center. Mm-hmm.
And
Joe.
Joe is on the right. And then what about the girls?
That's Margaret.
It's Margaret.
And then on the lap is Bill.
You know, what about, so this is a church in Maine,
Greenville, Holy Family
Holy Family.
in Greenville.
Yeah, okay, so that's not even a question anymore. Do you know, this?
Yeah, that's Bill and George Ryan.
Who is this?
Yes, George Ryan.
George Ryan?
George Ryan and Bill.
Okay.
And who are they, Dad?
Huh?
Who are they?
They were, well, Bill is a son, and they were in the CCs together.
Okay. So they just were people who lived in Greenville?
That's Bill,
Horrible.
Bill Borbo.
Oh, Bill Borbo.
And that's the same Bill we just seen.
Right.
Okay, just
The
so,
one that was a baby on the left.
Yeah.
yeah, and just to clarify again, growing up they were Borbos, but when they were older they changed their last name to Bourbon.
Okay. I think that's, and we have this.
Oh, I love that sign.
Do you know,
Oh.
who's this? Oh, do we know?
Yeah.
Who is that, Dad? Can you make it bigger?
Yeah.
That's a great sign.
No, that's not it. Oh, there it is. That's not very big. Maybe we can zoom in.
No.
You know,
I was gonna say that is, Art from,
Margie's?
Washington DC.
Art Fogarty?
Art's it was Maggie's husband.
Fogarty, right?
Yeah,
Art Fogarty.
okay. But we're not sure about that.
I have no memories of Art Fogarty.
Not sure.
Okay. Wait, do you know the sign?
Oh, yes.
Oh,
Tell 'em.
yeah, that sign's still
It's
there.
still there.
But is that in Greenville then?
No, it's up in Cocadjo.
Where's
So
that?
north of Greenville.
That's 20 miles north.
Okay.
If he thinks it's our forward, it is, because this is a picture he selected to
Okay.
have me scan, so.
It's F-O-G
A-R-T-Y.
A-R-T-Y in, what was the city? again?
Cocadjo.
Please, you know,
K-O-J-A-D-O.
K-O-J
J-A-D-O.
Just like it sounds.
in Maine.
Wait, Cocadjo. K-O-K-A-D-J-O.
Okay, so K-O
And then another K.
and then K
You still here, Dave?
A
A-D-J-O.
G-O.
I mean, you can look it up on a map, it's still on a
Gonna
map.
get me to the
And
airport
that's
later.
It's in Maine, it's about 20 miles north. It was just a little, like, it was kind of like a logging camp, wasn't it, Dad? Cocadjo?
That's what it was.
Yeah.
Okay. Alright, those are the ones we wanna show you, so.
Mhm.
Alright. I think that's a wrap then,
Mhm.
so. Alright. Well, thank you for doing that,
Oh,
appreciate that.
Did you save that file?
Yeah, those are all saved as the names of the pictures.
That camera's out, this one's still going.
Okay. Alright.
Thank you for doing that.
Are you done, Sam?
Yep, enjoy that.
All right.
Listening to Grandpa stories.
Don't you have a set of those clappers?